I'm Janice Irwin, and welcome to Framed. This week we have Greg Haymes.
Hello.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
Very good.
That's great. Most people probably remember Greg either as the staff writer for the Times Union. He writes the pop music column weekly in Preview, and he also is Sarge Blotto.
That's another life. That's my secret life. Yes.
That's where I first saw you, was as Sarge Blotto, and I never knew you had a name, Greg.
Well, we like to keep that mystery, and actually, I think most of my visual art stuff, I've been going by G.C. Haymes to sort of differentiate myself from Greg Haymes that people read about in the paper, and then there's Sarge Blotto, who goes up on stage and plays the music. So I've just part of my many myriad of personalities.
Oh, I like
kind of
that.
a Sybil thing I do.
But then you know who you are that day.
Right, I know where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to do.
Exactly. If you're Sarge Blotto today, you know you're performing music, and if you're Greg Haymes, you're writing for the paper, many different fabulous articles. And then C.G. Haymes?
G.C. Haymes.
G.C. That's who we have to look for the signature on your artwork. Okay, I think that's pretty cool. But after I found out that Sarge Blotto had evolved into a writer and a visual artist, I had seen his work, haiku, at a tech show at Albany Center Galleries.
Right.
I think that's the first time I noticed. I was like, oh, you're working on some visual art. How long has that been a focus for you?
I've been doing visual artwork for probably most of my life, but it's only been in the past really 2 or 3 years that I sort of have come to think of myself as an artist and in any sort of way to exhibit it, to share it with other people.
Oh, okay. Because I remember seeing the Blotto videotape on the shelves at Albany Public Library,
Right.
and then now I'm seeing your work on the walls of galleries. So I think it's great that you're influencing, I'm sure, so many people by participating in the arts and sharing such interesting topics. Would you like to tell us something about the haiku series that you have here?
I call it the headline haiku, and it actually is what started out as a writing exercise, because once I started writing for a living for the Metroline magazine and the Daily Gazette, and then eventually the Times Union, I sort of lost touch with my creative writing.
Oh, okay.
And I ran into this block, you know, and it was just sort of, when I sit down in front of the computer, I was thinking work and not art.
Okay.
So
I can see that happening, like that pressure of like writing about this certain thing.
well, it's again, it's sort of, as we were talking about with the name thing, it's that sort of trying to compartmentalize the actual process. And so it was one day on, it was one New Year's Eve, probably about 12 years ago or so. I said, I had a big stack of newspapers in front of me, and I just started going through a newspaper, cutting out words that looked interesting to me. And then I started just shuffling them around on a piece of black paper until I came up with something. And eventually that evolved into going with a more traditional haiku process, which is Japanese. A haiku is a traditional Japanese form.
Okay.
And I kept putting more and more limitations on myself so that it would be, so I would adhere strictly to the 5-7-5 syllable form, but then I would only select words from a single newspaper. So I wouldn't have, I wouldn't have the universe of printed word to pull from. I would have one issue of one newspaper.
Sort of to challenge yourself, like that's your own challenge.
And hope that by putting more and more restrictions and limitations on the work, I would be able to delve deeper into what it was that was drawing it out of me. So I had, I just focused on that and did, I still do that every once in a while. It didn't really help me to become a more creative writer, but I did come up with some nice, some pieces that I think are probably a little more, I came to think of them more as visual art as well as a simple poem.
And why don't you read a couple of them?
I've never done that.
Oh, wow. Well, this will be a first, TV 18 framed.
Excuse me.
If I hold it for you.
Okay. This one says, "The dream never dies. True believers turn the trick. The devil deceived."
Wow. I think on what I saw at Albany Center Galleries had your name in type from the newspaper in the piece, didn't it?
Actually, let me see.
Let
me see if any of them do.
I think it did.
I did have.
I think it had your name from the newspaper.
This one here.
There. Okay.
This one here. Believe history. The doors of change. Believe history. Open the doors of change. Review the future. And yeah, I took one of my columns and just tacked it on the bottom as though it were a signature.
That's where it was.
Now this one was actually culled from an issue of the Capital District Business Review, August 20th, 1990. So
I see.
On the back,
what paper and what the date.
That one is from a magazine, which I eventually started to do some magazines as well.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
Here's one from the Syracuse New Times, and one from some fanzine called Spew from 1994. Right. So I have stacks of newspapers at home that eventually, when I find myself in the right mood, I'll tackle.
I like it. I think this was the part that I had noticed right here was where you say you took part of your column and it said by Greg Haymes right here on the piece.
Make it like a signature.
Yes, I remember noting that and thinking, oh, that's really neat,
It's an intersection of two of my lives. It doesn't happen too often.
No, not too
It was too good to ignore when I thought of doing just a newspaper collage as a frame. I thought
I like that as like your matting device is using all the newspapers.
Well, it's sort of
incorporating that into it, I think, is pretty neat thing to have done. The way you put it all around cardboard or mat board or whatever.
It's it's recycling. I used what I wanted for the art, and then I recycled the rest of it to make the frame.
Do you have any other rules on it? Like the rule is only one newspaper magazine. Are there other rules?
Well, yeah, I did make that rule, and I haven't broken it yet. But so if I really only have one poem that I constructed out of an issue of the Albany Times Union.
Is it only one poem per issue?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And I only there's only one from the Albany Times Union. There's only one from the Dallas Morning News. There's only one from the Daily Gazette.
Oh, one completely from it's not even just one poem from a particular issue.
No.
It's one poem.
Then I don't use that newspaper anymore. I have to find a new newspaper.
Oh. So you must have to really branch out. I mean, eventually you're going to exhaust the Capital Region publications, and You know, you'd be mailing away to
but
China.
oh yeah, the Boston Globe, and I mean, they're all there, and they're all in this in the 21st century. You have access to all of
yes,
this.
that's true.
It's not just a local thing anymore. So.
Now, is printing them out from the internet all right?
I haven't brought that technology into this work.
I think it would oppose it.
I think I want to keep the ink on my fingers.
Okay.
I want to get dirty doing this.
Okay.
I don't want to just cut and paste electronically.
Oh, good, because I think that would kind of take away from, well, your whole recycling idea, too, of how you're recycling for the mapper. What's the point of recycling it?
Well, that's true.
If you're just downloading it, I don't know. I think, yeah, stay away from the internet publications.
I'm sure there's a good project in the internet somewhere. I just haven't got to it yet.
That'll be a different project.
Yeah.
It won't be part of the haiku project. How many of those have you made already then?
The haiku, I think I have about 40 to 45 of those.
Oh my goodness. All from different papers.
Right.
40, 45. That's really incredible. I think that's something neat. One of the things that really amazed me is on your website you have these fabulous horses in a what would you call it? Oh, it's an outdoor exhibition, really.
Yeah, I call it an outdoor installation, a permanent outdoor installation.
Oh, it's permanent.
Yes.
Okay, so it's definitely permanent. Now, are the horses, actual carousel horses, painted white? Are they plaster cast, plastic? What's the material that the horses are made out of?
No, actually the horses are all hobby horses of the kind, children's hobby horses.
Oh, okay.
They're
that go on the springs.
plastic
on the
horses
metal
that
frame.
have the metal frames around them, and they're on the springs.
Oh.
So I've over the years I've collected those, and then I spray paint them white, and then I run wires between the trees in the woods and hang the horses from the wires between the trees, so that it gives the illusion that the horses are flying. And it's a nice, there's a nice ridge that goes down to a creek, so that the horses sort of appear to be flying up over this ridge. They all hang about, I'd guess, between 12 and 20 feet in the air.
Oh. So how are you getting them up there? Do you have a 20-foot extension ladder? Or are you using a crane or what?
When you're
climbing the tree.
When you're an artist, you have to have the right material.
That's
so
right.
yes, I went
Are
out.
you climbing the trees?
I started with about a 10-foot A-frame ladder, and that wasn't sufficient. So I had to go out and invest in a major extension ladder.
Oh, okay. So I just had some limbs cut from a tree that were on my wires to the house, and that was a project.
Yeah.
Just getting the right ladder. It's all about the ladder.
Well, the first one I put up was a little more problematic than that, and I ended up sort of dangling in the tree a little bit, thinking, wow, this is more dangerous than I thought. I'm not sure I want to risk this for my art, but eventually I got the hang of it and developed the horse technology that I use today.
Now you're going to allow this technology to be public? Like, is that on your website in terms of, horse technology and how to recreate an installation of this map?
Hopefully by the time you see this, yes, it will be. No, that's actually, it's not today up on my website, but that is my next project.
Okay.
is to explain the actual hanging.
Because I would think the gauge of the wire is important. I mean, that's one of the things that you have to consider right there.
Well,
did you test the wire, or you tested it by installing it and then seeing if it lasted?
right. This is the horses, and there are now, I think, 35 horses.
Wow.
in the installation. 34. I rescued one yesterday that came down in a recent storm and broke its right front leg. So he's currently in the repair shop, but he'll be back up there soon. And so I started 6 years ago or so, and I started with one, and then continued to grow. And I think by the end of the year, the first summer, I had about 6 of them up.
Okay.
Last year, I think I had 18 of them up, and this year I got up to 35, and I have actually 3 more on my painting line right now.
Well, I have one for you if you're interested.
I'm always.
Oh, you are? I didn't
interested.
realize they were hobby horses, and so I have one that I'll be more than happy to donate to the project.
That's how the good horse project artist spends its Saturday mornings, is running around from garage sale to garage sale.
No, this one you may have free also. Total donation.
So yeah, so it's good. It has worked out over the years too that I do have a lot of friends that are aware of the project.
Okay.
So if they're out garage sailing, or if they see one at the dump or wherever, you know, sometimes I'll sometimes I'll come home from work or from a show that I'm out to or something, and I'll come home and there'll just be a horse on my doorstep, you know, a donation from a neighbor or a friend.
Now, do you have to sand them first before you paint them, or
I
you
don't.
just going raw?
I don't. I take them, I clean them off, I paint them white, and you're talking before about the gauge and everything. What I do is I run lines from one tree to the next, and again, recycling. I use the springs that the horses ride on the metal frame.
The wire through the spring.
I take the spring and attach it to the wire, because the trees, when the wind blows, the trees sway. And if you don't have enough give, if you don't have enough give in the line, then it'll pull the line out of the tree, and the horse will crash to the ground.
Or alternate trees are swaying differently too.
Generally, they
go the same way.
Because there's a big cornfield across the street, so the wind picks up to a fair degree as it hits the horses. So they generally sway pretty much in unison or in the same directions.
This is almost like a George Rickey project.
Yeah, well, it is. And
where you have to know about currents, air current, and the weights and counterbalance.
Well, and the other thing is over the years I've increased the horse technology.
Oh, that's
and that,
good. That's a good thing to do.
Running from I have the guy wire running from tree to tree, and then I have the horse, which is generally looped one under the chin and one under the tail with fishing line.
Oh, because in this part of the video, you're going to the horse and doing some type of attachment or repair. I don't know if you're putting a piece of tape on it or fishing line.
Yes, well, because the horses generally have holes in the side where they have the handles or the foot.
That's right.
Spots.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I cover those over with tape, and then paint them, and then hang them up. But over the years I've gone from I think when I first initially started hanging the horses, I was using 30-pound fishing line. Last year I moved up to 50-pound fishing line. This summer I moved up to 60-pound, and I don't know. I don't know if I don't, unless I go to some deep sea diving specialty shop. I don't know if I can get much heavier gauge than that.
I think these are really cool. You can see in these still pictures one of the horses close up, and I think the photographs themselves used as artwork, photos of the installation are artwork in themselves with the beautiful blue sky really makes that white horse stand out. You can see the horse in different positions, and I love this in the fall too. It's sort of like a whole season series almost of what the installation looks like, different times a year, different types of weather.
To me, it's just a beautiful thing to watch because it changes radically from month to month.
Oh,
but it
yeah,
changes
it
every
would.
day from hour to hour because of the way the light shifts and where it sneaks through the leaves, and they are all in the woods. So they're right now. There's no place you can stand and see all of the horses. You can see 3 or 4 if you stand here. You can see 5 or 6 if you stand over here. But you really have to walk through the woods and continually be aware in order to see the whole.
Because right here, this other one in the fall again, and then with the beautiful blue sky in the back. And so you have the photos available as pieces someone could collect, as well as seeing the installation. What kind of started this? What spawned the idea for a horse installation?
Yeah, I think it was pretty much an accident. My wife gave me an old horse. It was not one of the plastic ones that they use now, but an old sort of durable rubber.
I was going to ask you, well, what did they make it out of before?
It was kind of a fairly rugged kind of rubber.
Okay.
And she gave me one for Christmas one year, and I'm still not certain why, but I'm not sure why, but I painted it white, and I hung it in our kitchen. Because at the time we were living in downtown Albany, and I had my connection to nature was minimal, let's say.
Okay.
I was really in the inner city in Albany, and so I hung it in the kitchen. And then 6 or 7 years ago, we moved out to the country, out to Castleton, and one of the first things I did when that first spring rolled around was take that horse and set it up in the trees to sort of free it, as it were.
Okay, and maybe for yourself to just enjoy it out there, seeing it free from the confines of urban life.
Yeah, it very much
can be rural.
It very much mirrored my own existence.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. If you were saying you were confined, you enjoyed it. I just think being an urban person, and then all of a sudden you're experiencing this ruralness of fresh air and trees, and so you allowed the horse to
be my surrogate, as it were. Yes. Yeah.
And then.
And I don't know.
You didn't want it to be alone?
It just started, I think.
The herd?
I think I went to a garage sale or something and saw another one, and I said, well, gee, maybe my horse needs a friend, a playmate, and next thing I knew, they were stacking up, and I had to install a special line so that I can clean them off and paint them and repair them, and then I move them up and decide, which trees are going to be. Because
well, that's true. I mean, the tree has to be pretty special too, right? I mean, just selecting that tree was worthy of having a horse on it.
The other thing is I sort of look at
the strength.
I've sort of picked a focal point on the property so that all the horses are sort of a perspective point.
All right.
So that all the horses are sort of all they're not all in the same angle this way.
Good.
They're all aiming toward a certain point. And so some of them are deep into the woods, some of them are right on the edge of the lawn. But they're all aiming for the same point, the same goal.
Now, when I was looking at the footage of the installation that you taped on your property, the one thing I was wondering about was, are the horses loosely attached to the wire in terms of, are they free to, as the wind moves them, to go forward and backwards on the line, or are they attached tightly in that one spot?
No, they're the guy wire going across, and then I just have a loop of fishing line. So every couple of weeks. It's a full-time. This is a full-time. This is a full-time job.
Yes,
you know, it's just not okay. The art is up. It's done. It's a full-time job. So, I mean, at another garage sale managed to find the perfect horse wrangling tool, which is a telescoping. Long telescoping handle that you use to change light bulbs in cathedral ceilings.
Yes.
So every couple of weeks I'll go out and say, this guy's getting a little too far into the woods, or he's getting too close to this guy. I move one of them forward, back. So it's constantly shifting.
So cool.
And when the wind, you know, as I said, when the wind blows, the guy lines will become more taut, and you'll see the horses rising and lowering a little bit, and sometimes they'll slide down.
I think one of the things that sounds so neat about this is you do a painting or a photo, that's pretty much it. Not to simplify that, I'm a painter, so I think it's everything, but your matting and your framing, it's a done deal. And it's in the home, and that's it. So you can move it around or whatever, where with this, it's never going to be finished. It's always going to evolve and always have different possibilities, and it's something that you can look at every day. I like the part of where you were speaking of how the look changes with the light. Just light, wind, the time of year, the season.
The season.
It's got to be incredible.
They look very different with snow on them.
Wow.
You know, or in early April or March, where before the leaves come out, you can actually go and see pretty much all of them at once,
so cool.
because the trees are bare and there's these bright white horses standing out.
So cool. Greg, would you like to give your website out, or any way you'd like people to contact you if they're interested in seeing more of your artwork?
We do. I do have I can't. I'm way too poor to afford my own website, but my wife has allowed me to hijack hers for a little bit. So if you wanted to see a little bit more about the horse project, you can log on to www.sarahayers.com/horses. And Sarah Ayers is SARAAYERS.
I think that's so cool. I got to see there are a lot of different links on there too for you to enjoy. Well, Greg, I want to thank you so much for coming to do the program.
My
Framed.
pleasure.
It was so much fun.
I'm thrilled to be able to come and talk. I had a great time.
Oh, good. Thank you. And we'll see you next time.